So Brian, a lot of your resources are really engaging. They incorporate different forms of media. Can you tell us a little bit about your recent project with Saint in the Membrane?
Well, Saint in the Membrane, since I like to, play video games when my daddy duties are over at night and so forth, it kind of helps me just relax. So one of the more recent games I had played was The Witness by Jonathan Blow and the company Thelka Inc., which is out there in San Francisco. While I was playing it, I thought it was tailor-made to make something engaging for my students. It ties in, obviously, brain teasers, puzzle solving, STEM thinking, which is huge right now, getting the kids to think in the scientific and technical realms. So basically, I play the game, I uploaded the videos to my YouTube channel, edit them, so forth, and then I create the lesson plans that go around it and put it all together in a nice one big file. And everything's hyperlinked on the file so people can go ahead and see them and my YouTube videos so they can see the puzzles, see the results, so forth. It's also a good idea. I put a lot of what my students are doing on my own educational website, 123 Read and Write. So there's a blog entry about, I think I titled it, Witness My Students Getting Smarter. And you can see them doing some of the puzzles and some of the things that we do with that guide that I made that's on our test store. I did want to do a quick shout out though and thanking Jonathan Blow and their company for giving me the green light to do it. It's their game. They made it. I didn't make it. I just enjoyed it and played it and wanted to bring it to my students' lives. And since they enjoy it, I'm hoping to allow other teachers, if they want to give it a go and see their kids flourish.
Great. So you mentioned you have your own blog that you record different teaching tips.
Yep.
What would be kind of your best teaching tip to give either a new teacher or someone who kind of just needs something to reinvigorate them?
It's actually really simple. I always like to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So if I was seated out in my classroom where my teenagers are for 52 minutes, whatever the case may be, would I be engaged, entertained, motivated to learn? If my answer is no, then why in the world would I be teaching that way? So everything that I make, everything that I do, I put myself in their position. And if I would be intrigued, then it's a pretty good bet that they would be motivated as well.
Perfect. I love that. Do you have any inspirational moments from the past couple of years that you can think about that is kind of that capstone moment of your teaching career?
Well, anytime, you always get, students who will come back and visit or so forth. But this year I had a really, a good moment. This is really exciting that the kids just finished another one of the video ones, which was called, I don't remember, Carried Off to Rapture, I think I called it, which is from a phenomenal game called Everybody's Gone to the Rapture by the Chinese Room. And I've been in contact with them as well, so they're well aware that I've made this. Anyway, the students' final project was a video chat, kind of like you and I are doing. And why it was meaningful to me is because it showed true learning. The kids not only had to give me their theory on what happened to this poor little English town, because it's a big mystery. They had to give me their theories. They had to tie it into narrative text. Then they had to tie it into a song that I found that correlates with the game. Then they had to correlate it in with a historical quote to end it out. So they were crossing all these realms and bringing all their thoughts together, which is the highest level of thinking you can do. And they enjoyed it. They've commented to me that they've enjoyed it. And to thank them, what's really exciting is the company is going to Skype with my classroom. So the ones that made this awesome game that enthralled my students, as a gift to them, I reached out to them and I said, you know what? You guys talking to my kids would be like the Beatles coming to America back in the 60s, I think, because they loved your game. So on June 15th, they're actually going to Skype with my kids, and I just told them today, and they are beyond excited. So we're developing questions to ask them. This is what they remember. This is what they're not going to come back and say, Mr. Dalton, I love that test we took, or I love that. But they do remember that kind of stuff, and that's my job, is to give them that spark, that memory, and then I feel good about what I've done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fantastic. You'll have to send us pictures.
I will.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Oh, I love that. So you really speak with passion, not only about teaching, but also about bringing your own personal passions into the classroom. Do you have any advice for teachers who are just trying to figure out their own teacher persona and how to relate to their students, about how to start that process?
really what I've always said that I'm, a big kid at heart. So if you're in the classroom, the better you can stay in touch with your inner child, the better off you're going to be. We were all in their position at one point. So, I always look at, everyone's going to have bad days. Everyone's going to have days that they don't feel like work and so forth. Instead of getting, like, for example, on kids' case for being unmotivated or not wanting to do something, you've been there before. Put yourself in their position and get through them in a different way. They learn in a different way than you or I had learned in school. It's a different world right now. You need to reach out to figure out what's going to engage them, which is why I do a lot of what I do. Also, it's all about relationships. Every kid's different. And when you find that one thing you can connect on, for one, it might be video games. For another, it might be football. For another, it might be music. Take time to get those relationships built, and they'll pay back tenfold, because if they feel you care about them, they're going to want to do well for you. That's the key. Build those relationships, and then it takes care of itself from there.
Fantastic. And then my last question just is about, your resources are so incredibly engaging. Do you have any other advice for ARTES authors about different ways that they can kind of create resources that fit a different type of mold like yours do?
I think, and always, whatever you're passionate about, whatever it may be, figure out a way to bring it to, your children or the masses in general, for, other teachers. I think education should be in the hands of the teachers. So instead of letting other, people write the lessons or so forth, the people that are in the classroom, go with what your passions are and figure out a way to create something to, motivate not only the students in front of you, but, teachers that, like you had said, may have hit that stumbling block or wall and they're looking for something. So if you're interested in modeling clay and you're teaching the Lord of the Flies, how can you bring in modeling clay into the essence of Lord of the Flies and connect your passion with what you're trying to teach the kids? It can be done. If your passion is, drawing, then there's all kinds of ways that you could bring that into anything. I just happen to love music. I happen to love, thanks to my own kids, I got into video games at a very late stage. I think it was like 4 years ago, but they're fun. And with our kids today, they're a visual age. They need to see it, hear it, and they need to see it and hear it in a loud manner, because they have information at their fingertips at all times. So that's the best way that, I think that I've reached them this year. I know they've loved it. They love Rapture. They're loving Saying the Membrane. The new one they're doing is Firewatch. They're getting a kick out of that one, and I wanted to thank them as well. I've talked to Campo Santo, who might be out in California, allowing me to do that. And one that just came out, and I want to thank the other ones, Frictional Games, which I believe is in Sweden. Mm-hmm. I talked to them. Thomas Griff's his name, and he gave me the green light to work with their game. So I just put one out that's dealing with mental illness. If you want to take your kids on a journey, check out the one I did with investigating mental illness and how I tied it into the video game Soma, because you'll get your kids thinking on higher levels than you could ever imagine.
Oh, well, thank you, Brian. It was so great to talk to you today. We look forward to seeing more of your videos and more of your resources.
Well, I thank you for your time. You guys have been awesome.
Oh, thank you. Do you have any other questions? I'm going to hit stop on the broadcast, but we can keep talking for a second.